Hey everyone. I am aLex. We're here together today in a Sun and Moon Yoga Studios. One of the ways we can be together, this virtual way, such a gift. I'm here every week. You can watch later by watching the video. Actually, I apologize. Last week I was traveling. Usually, even when I travel, I join you remotely. This time it was a very, very quick trip, and there was somebody lined up to be a sub, but we had a difficulty, and that just she never got on. So I profusely apologize about that. Hey, Mary Beth, welcome this morning. Thanks for being here. So nothing happened last week, but maybe you chose to maybe pull up another video, or I wonder what you did for your practice instead. I'd love to know that. You could put it in the chat. I thank all of you who are joining later, who join this community. So community is really growing for us. We definitely have a shared ethic, have a shared reasoning intent at Sun and Moon, and all of us, all the teachers there, the many teachers are quite different, but there's a shared adherence to this path, to try to stick to this path, to try to bring it into our practice and into our daily lives. So I'll talk a little, I'll get us grounded and get into our theme. We'll take some very subtle, small movements with huge attentiveness, and then I will guide us. We'll be segueing towards stillness, towards being still. Thank you for being here today. That didn't sound too good. Let's try that again. The call to practice. Listening sound. You may already feel that you're drawn in a strange way inward from receiving the vibration of the bell. Not stopping, because maybe, I don't know, even the same bell can have such a beauty, a pleasant vibration in our body, or unpleasant, can stop us in our tracks. Let's take this opportunity of hearing the sound to, this sort of brings us in already, in and down, following the flow of gravity, and continuing to listen to all that's coming to you through the vehicle of sound, but also perhaps through touch, smell, taste, and even sight. I have my eyes closed. It helps me to come into this beginning grounding period. You might have your eyes wide open or a little open. Arriving. Just there is this commitment. If you're here with me today, we share a commitment of this practice, however you set it up for yourself, of getting in touch with that deepest, most boundless, timeless essence of ourself. Through the many manifestations, many ways we experience life. And so this feel of gravity, so available to us on this planet, sensing it in, again, many ways, but one is I'm feeling the warmth of the base of my pelvis, my legs, my feet on this couch cushioning and blanket below me. There's a distinct, since I've been here a few minutes, the warmth has accumulated, sort of insulated on this part of me. There's also a certain weight. There's a certain weight I feel, and it feels different. The weight and texture is different in the feet than in the pelvis. If you're choosing to be lying down, you'll feel it all along your back body or side body. So those two interfaces, the interfaces of what's under you coming up and the body coming down. And it's almost like you can sense if there was a piece of paper between your body and the whatever you're sitting on, the ground, the seat, the bed, wherever you are. But also there's the nearbyness. There's, as we sense to the ground, while I don't really know what's inside this couch cushion, there's some sort of squishy material under the cloth cover. Springs probably under that, somewhere in there. There are wooden parts in this couch. And similarly, we can feel into our body as if coming through the layers of clothing, skin, into the layers of tissue, blood, various vessels. So all this is the element of ground. We visited sound, ground, and holding those two in our consciousness, also fold in now breath. And there's no edict to be perfectly still here, but the stillness, like moving toward that. If there's a need to adjust, and that's good in all this first phases before we get to the stillness of meditation itself. And as we watch that from our capital A awareness, that is what is prior to all, we can notice if the adjustments we make are indeed for comfort, or are they sort of the fidgety nerve sourced nature. And not a judgment, just to see clearly, to know this about ourselves. Breath, noticing where you feel it, what its shapes, how it shapes the body as it comes in and out. Visiting parts of you that you might not think. Do I feel my breath touch my upper back, underneath the shoulder blades or the back ribs? Not forcing it, but you can take deeper breaths if that appeals. You can just let the breath be as it is, as you say hello to this vehicle of life force. And just note how it is that if you do have a sense of arriving, of groundedness, of stillness, paint a picture for yourself how that is. Maybe a few words to sketch it out, a few words of what it's like. Is it warm? Is it peaceful? How it is now, because it may be different tomorrow, later today, next week. Might be peaceful. Oftentimes when I am making this voyage into stillness, there's a lot of pull out. So there might be a, a contentment, and yet at the same time, something that's pulling outward, pulling away, something I need to remember, something I need to solve. Be honest in your seeing, receiving. And start to listen, just sort of listening with your whole body, your whole being, your whole presence, as I suggest this theme to guide us, a couple themes. Always the feel of stillness is so prevalent. The stillness is an important aspect of this practice and this tool to become available in times, for example, when we are gathering with others. So stillness is a main theme. I'm pairing it today with, as the image for this video, the thumbnail, is a scene we saw in Colorado, driving back from a church service I attended with my brother and sister-in-law. We pulled over to the side of the road. We saw these gazelles, and myself and my niece, who was visiting there. This was a new for us, and they're so camouflaged, so beautiful when there was a little bit of snow. And they were probably grazing together, and they all turned to look at us as we still slowed down. We got a few pictures. So they were grazing together. It turns out that this sermon that I heard at the service was sort of about getting together for meals. So interestingly, I'd love to have a transcript or recording of this sermon the pastor put together. He spoke of, he noted, which I had never reflected on this before, that maybe some of you have, so frequently in the New Testament, Jesus is, almost all the stories, almost all of them are about getting together for a meal. Not all, but a lot of them. A lot of getting together for a meal, even the very important latter ones. And he was noting how, many of us in our modern day world, we eat by ourselves. And that's kind of just how life is. Sometimes we're eating in the car, on the run. And yet, when we take the opportunity to eat together and be attentive with each other, be present for each other, the richness that happens there, the richness of having each other at this time, several levels. We're sharing this nourishment he didn't bring that up so much, but I'll talk about that in a moment. This coming together where we share our nourishment and we talk. And many families try to make mealtime when it's together at the end of the day, perhaps about, an opportunity to share what happened in your day, what's important for you now. And for some of us, we have really difficult memories around food and meals with our families. So there's that as well. And this opportunity, what we can't see about ourselves, eating by ourselves in our car, we can be in our heads, we can have lots of ideas about ourselves, but there's such a gift in what other people have to reflect to us, to say to us, which some of which is wonderful to hear and some of which is not so easy to hear. But it gives us a more whole view of ourself, and that wholeness, that's just it's impossible without others. Very impossible. And it's wonderful when it's good. Then when it's difficult, this is where our practice comes in, to be able to be grounded, rooted, to be able not to react, as the sutras teach us to. Our practice and non-reactivity is part of this path to help us into that connection, into that unity. And indeed, I had a little opportunity visiting family, imagine that, to wrestle with such a thing. And I would credit practice that I was able to, lost a little sleep over it, but I was able to work it through the next day in a way that I don't know how it was for the other person, but it brought me to peace. It brought me to so much more peace than at first. I thought there was an attack coming my way, or I thought maybe I was perceived as an attacker. And it's to this space, this quiet, this stillness with our own, that we can begin to trust that more and more deeply in ourself, that we open to. Maybe we say a prayer, what is this? What do I need to do next? How do I hold this? The inquiry that a wise inquiry that can help us when we keep on our course of how is it to know our connectedness, to live from love rather than fear, as one of the poems I'm working on memorizing says, to be in that sacred space where we live from love rather than fear. And that's what allows us. That's really moving me with all the conflicts in the world these days. But when we do that our microcosms of doing that, so powerful to bring that out to the greater world. So thank you for joining me in this purpose. It's huge. It may seem it's like something we should do. We kind of know this practice is good for us, but it is indeed good for not only our individual self, but our collective communities. So with that, let me take a sip from all my talking. And let's take a slight movement. But once again, come back with all that information. And I know I said I was going somewhere with one of my points, and I didn't follow that through. Maybe I'll weave it in still. Come back to breath, sound, ground. Away from all the words that I just said, but maybe feeling how they landed, how they land and move or don't move you now, or where they might have taken you in your experience, in your travels, your life travels, your situation. And remember now to sense the whole body as we just take this simple action of shrugging shoulder and ear on one side toward each other, and then just let it drop. So feeling the whole of yourself as you take that and drop. And this is a pretty big action, actually. It's not so mini, but you might just do the mini of it, the tiniest lift, that initiative, that first initiation of the movement where it just begins to lift, and feel what needs to happen for something to go up, opposing gravity and with levity. What else moves? Something in the ribs, something in the core, something maybe in the way your legs and pelvis press against the ground, something in the other side of the body that's the more still side. And notice that you Maybe pairing this movement with your breath somehow, or not, either is fine. Maybe the breath is sort of freed and released or changed by this movement. All right, let that go. Just stand still, be still, sit still. The richness of this pause. And perhaps do the other side. I'm going to at first do the other side just in my imagination. Truly mini movement, just in my imagination. Sometimes when we feel the movement in this very internal way, something even bigger comes to play. And then perhaps I'll actually do it all and staying with all phases of the movement, whether imagining or doing, whether larger or smaller. Breath, and even including the space around you, the sound, just like opening the aperture of your consciousness, this tool that brings us more in recognition of our awareness. And maybe do it fast. Jiggle, jiggle. And then go side to side. Actually, let's pause for a moment again. Let's just pause. And for about 1 more minute, take this action any way you'd like. Maybe side to side, perhaps incorporating a conscious pause, either through it partway through a movement or at the beginning or end of the up down. It's like a kind of a flossing going through the shoulder girdle, the ribs. Perhaps even you feel that in the spine and pelvis, and perhaps not. And then as you're ready, let yourself land into stillness, where for 6 minutes we'll be silent together. I think I'll start with that poem I referenced. It's called I Am Not I. So you might find that this little bit of movement landed you right into a still place. Or you need just a little bit of adjustment. The ancient writing from the Upanishads, I think from the Vedantic period, or Vedic or Vedantic. Vedantic is a little bit later, the end of the Vedas, the culmination of, so we are food. We are food, and one of the greatest services we can do is to share food. There's this cycle, we are food, our bodies decompose, we nourish the ground, the soil, these components of us nourish the soil, the next generations of plants and animals, and it all comes around. But this invitation that one of the highest services is to share food. And I'm adding this, how we come to that, how we offer it, how we relate with that and around that. So important. so full of possibility. So I am not I. I am the one sitting beside me whom you do not see, whom at times I visit and at times I forget. The one who rests calmly when I talk, the one who forgives gently when I hate, the one who is here when I am not, the one who will remain when I die. Body relaxed. Presence. Eyes soft. Resting as awareness. One who forgives gently when I hate. So if you notice yourself saying hateful or just slightly hurtful things about your own practice, be that gentle forgiveness, kindness that is of our true essence. sit longer. I have just gotten deep into it. But at this point, let's formally bring closure to our practice together so that we might go to the next thing if that's needed. I bow to you, I honor you, I bless you and myself and all beings. May they have the sustenance they need. May they have communities that support them. May we all have that. And may we live from a space of love rather than hate, rather than fear, Mixed up there were two poems I was referencing here. Thank you all who join me. Sometimes Lana, Linda, Kevin, and Catherine, Virginia, Jackie, Sandra, I know you join often, Mary Beth. I have more to say, but I'll keep it to this half hour and respect your time, my time. We'll talk more about food and community. I think this is a very rich, indeed a very, very rich theme to support us and very much alive in our daily lives. We all need to eat, even if some people try to just make that very practical and quick. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you again next week. Peace. Ciao, ciao. Thank you so much, Mary Beth.